at Mountain Springwater. I'm Allie Clifton, joined by big shot Robert Oyer, Laker insider Mike Bresnahan, Geeter and Mike Trudell handling the post-game locker room duties for the Lakers after what's been a tough week, guys, for LA. The Lakers took the court for the first time in 6 days for game action. What started out great, 9-point lead at half, came the second half, which ultimately became too much for LA to overcome. The Spurs outscored the Lakers 73-40. It's the most points that the Lakers have given up in any half this season. They're outscored 66-40 in the paint, gave up 18 turnovers for 25 Spurs points, despite 30 and 13 from Anthony Davis. Rob, I'll start with you. You tip your cap to the San Antonio Spurs. They got the job done.
Yeah, it's one of those things you think you will have the advantage because Spurs have been sitting in a hotel for like 5 or 6 days waiting on this game. But sometimes that can bring teams together. They got a lot of time to talk about things. They got a lot of time to talk about their opponent that's coming up. They also have a lot of time to reflect on life because you know what happened across California. So for me, it was one of those games. Who's going to come out? Who's going to want it more? And to me, it seemed like in the second half, the Spurs regrouped and they wanted it more because the first half was all about the Lakers. I don't know, it was the love of honoring the great Michael Cooper, and there's a longer halftime than not, and that always favors the younger legs. But they came out still fresh and ready to roll. But at the end of the day, there was little effort at boxing out, little effort keeping out of the paint, and just little enthusiasm to me. And and I'm gonna give them a pass because this is that one game where there's so much going on in LA that you can give them a pass. But I still think you can still come out with a little bit more effort and a little more energy.
Yeah, I'm a little worried about this Laker offense. Look, I was at that game in Dallas 6 days ago. No Luka, no Kyrie, no Gafford for the Mavs. Lakers score 97 points and lose by 21. And you have tonight, that second half, not strong. 13 points in that fourth quarter. You're not going to win any game when you score 13 in the fourth, unless you're up by 90 going into that quarter. I'm worried about that offense, Rob. It seems stagnant. The shot selection has seemed a little off the last couple games. And I don't know what they can do other than maybe a lineup change, try to inject something different in that starting five. Dorian Finney-Smith, obviously the big acquisition, who starts, tons of games over the last 6 years. He could be the guy to put in there with that starting five, but for now, nothing seems to be flowing. AD chasing foul trouble. He wasn't quite in foul trouble, but it was, he had too many fouls tonight. And Wembanyama, wow. I mean, what more can you say about that kid? That hasn't already been said about an amazing young talent. Wow, just a tough second half. As you said, Rob, a lot going on in LA, but that offense has to find some solutions quickly.
We're going to get to Wemby and the Spurs in just a minute, but I do want to touch on something that you said because obviously it's sensitive. We're all well aware of what is going on. That's bigger than basketball and obviously away from the game. I do believe, though, that the Lakers made it very clear with the right intent to use this time, to take advantage of this time. We heard J.J. Redick say before the game that he felt they had the 3 best practices since training camp. He talked about staying sharp, staying conditioned, staying together. And so when you look at that second half, Rob, look, you played so many years in this league and you understand the energy that it takes throughout the course of a 48-minute game. So when you speak on it, can it be something as simple, not to make an excuse, but the reality of what we saw there in the second half of how when your rhythm can be interrupted, just getting your legs back?
I think, sometimes we look at athletes as being superhuman, and we're not. We have things going on us at home. You have things going on, outside of basketball that can carry over into the game of basketball. And sometimes we say, well, you make all this money, you should be able to, set that aside. But at the end of the day, you're human, you have a heart, and your heart can weigh on you. And especially when you're sitting there and you're thinking about, watching Coop get honored, and then it talks about family. Coop called a Lake family. That kind of all of a sudden you go in there like, well, is my family okay? Is my friend's family okay? And so that kind of gets you off kilter. And if you think about it, Chris Paul, even though he played with the Clippers, that was many moons ago. The Spurs really probably don't have anybody they got to worry about here in LA. So they came out like, oh, we got to come out. You know, they honoring Coop. They doing all these things to keep us in this locker room. Let's come out fresh. Let's come out and destroy them because the Lakers have a history of not having good third quarters. The Lakers have a history of having bad fourth quarter. And they played on all the things that are thorns in the Lakers side. And, you know, sometimes, you know, you have to give it up to the other team because they came out with a lot of energy, a lot of effort, and a lot of tenacity. They went after the basketball. They got the basketball. They put it back. And give it up to them. You had 3 guys to score 23 points in that starting lineup. Everybody scored in double figures in that starting line. So it was a team effort, and you just have to give it up to the Spurs. And you know me, I'm always mad when we lose. This is the one time that I have no reason to be mad because there's just basketball is not life. You know, you have that logo and it says basketball life, but sometimes life takes precedence over basketball, and you cannot get that out of your head.
Yeah, good words. It's tough to follow that because you're right. You know, so much at stake. You know, LeBron, he's in Brentwood. You know, he's been probably thinking about his house for the last 6 days. JJ, we know that story. His rental home burned down. James Worthy, our friend on air here, Rob, you as well. Both you guys had to evacuate your homes. So yeah, it's hard to talk about free throws and fast breaks and where's the Laker offense when all these other things are swirling around right now. But you know, the NBA standings, they don't take a break. The Lakers have lost 3 games in a row. You know, they were kind of close to 4th. They were kind of chilling there, and now they're down to 7th. They're outside that top 6 that I would want them to be in so badly. You know, if you're a Laker fan, no more play-in game. You want to be top 6. You want to rest that whole week and wait for the other 4 teams to beat themselves up, and then you can start playing. But now you're dropping out, that you're in that play-in tournament now, 7 through 10. You got to turn it around. And they have a very friendly schedule this month. The rest of this month, a lot of home games, a lot of bad teams, a lot of teams that are beat up. And they didn't take advantage of it in Dallas, you know. And they certainly did not look good in that second half tonight, Howard.
As you mentioned, the next 5 in LA, the next 4 at Crypto.com Arena for the Lakers. If there's ever a time to stay together and be connected, it is right now. On the other side, obviously, Rob, you mentioned it. The Spurs were supposed to play the Lakers on Saturday, so they've actually been off for 5 days as well, away from game action. The last time they played was on Wednesday, and you mentioned